Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. Today I have some of the most insane chess games to show you from Tata Steel round 4. Gukesh is involved, Pragg is involved, Arjun is involved, the Indians are all involved, and some other fantastic players. And there were some shocking games. But with that said, let's get into it. You don't want to look at my face any longer, you want to look at the chessboard. With that said, we'll get into the first game. It is GM Gukesh, the world champion, versus Ergaisi Sarana, who's been having a quiet tournament. He hasn't been covered much here, and that's because he's kind of been reserved to making draws. And they get d4, d5. Now, remember what I told you yesterday against Fabiano Caruana? You play d4 if you're going to play Queen's Gambit accepted. But it seems like most of these players now are preferring to play it like this. They don't want to commit the knight to f6 to start the game because they're worried maybe white will do something. So they're starting with d4. This seems to be trending at the moment. This is not the first time I've seen it. Knight to f3, knight to f6, and we get here a standard Queen's Gambit. So why they started with d4, d5, I don't know. But we get here. This is the interesting part. We're playing in Catalan. Remember, I have a video on how to play the Catalan. It'll be probably linked in the description down below, or I'll add a tag here. Pragg played it yesterday to amazing success against Arjun, and it goes like this. After short castles here, you invest in this bishop, because you're not worried if black takes it and tries to hang on. So if black takes the pawn and tries to hang on, you're not worried about that because you invest in this bishop. So we get here, the knight comes out, which is strange, because you would think, well, in a queen's pawn position, you would put the knight, the pawn there on c3, but no, we put the knight there. Knight jumps to the center, takes. Knight jumps back to attack the pawn. We're not worried. We take in the center. Takes again. Now our bishop is open. And the reason you don't want this bishop open as black is because you struggle to develop this bishop. You've got to often come out this way. So the bishop comes out. We can take that. The rook attacks. Bishop slides back. And we trade the queen. So you take with the knight to avoid castling. And we've got to move 13. The players have spent some time getting here. But I would say up until this point, they've done nothing special, and black has equalized. So there was a bit of a tactical sequence there in the middle after, knight to c3. And you play this move, knight to e5. Remember, I think it was Pragg yesterday, played the move knight e1, which is another option. But this one here is often what you want to play, especially if the knight's undefended. But because of this, we can take the knight in a couple of moves, take the pawn. The knight jumps back, we take, the knight takes, all thought for before. Gukesh spends a couple of minutes taking here. Big decision, could have maybe left that pawn there, but he decides to take, which allows this. So we take here, and we trade the queens off. And what you will notice is black has split pawns, white has these two together. It is almost the exact same endgame as yesterday between Pragg and Arjun Ergaisi. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I've got a recap. It'll probably be linked in the description down below, or you can just search my channel. It's one of the most recent videos I've uploaded. So the knight jumps in, we short castle, bishop comes in. Now you've almost got a reverse Catalan because you're developing here so that it struggles for white to develop. We'll bring the knight out, the rook goes over, knight jumps to the center, we want to grab the bishop pair, but allows this. We attack the knight doesn't need to move because it's defended. And we get here. So we've got a 2-on-1 on the queen side, but we've got a 4-on-3 on the king side. Black needs to make the most of their pawn. The problem is this pass pawn is pretty central, so the knight and the bishop can probably corral it fairly easily. You would much rather this pawn was over here and it was an outside pass pawn. So we'll see how the players develop and try and trade. Black says, I'm happy to trade, but I want to trade on my terms, where I can take with the pawn and strengthen everything, and now try and create the outside pass pawn. Knight jumps in, hits the bishop, bishop retreats. You don't want to play bishop versus knight. All these trades need to be evaluated correctly. Even here, we're just letting the rooks stare at each other. King, rook, slides over. King comes towards the center. Rook, a1. Now you've got to be careful. What do we do? Do we trade? What do we defend? Here, apparently Gukesh makes a slight inaccuracy. I don't think it's an accuracy because it's 95. It's the fifth choice of the engine because the engine thinks rook 6 to b4. So rook 6 to b4 is better. It thinks rook takes c1 is better. It thinks knight to a3 is better. And it thinks knight to d6 is better. But they're all about the same. The rook here, rook 6 to b4, gives the evaluation at 0.6. This is zeros. But in my opinion, it was always zeros. Now we take, the knight jumps in, we move the bishop out the way. Because again, we don't know if we want to play it with a bishop or with a knight. We take, the knights get traded. You might be like, oh, black hung a knight. Nope, you hung your knight right back. We slide here. Careful, you don't want to hang your rook in time pressure. These players are now down to 14 runs versus 2. Sarana's pushing as much as he can. So is Gukesh. But the pawns get traded now on the king side. So now you've got this 2 on 1 and this 1 on 2. But it's probably not going to be enough. Some pawns come off. The rook gives checks. We push the pawns as far as they'll go. There's nothing here. These two players are good. The evaluation bar did jump up to +1 for Sarana. Plus 0.9. The longer you let the engine think, the more it thinks it's equal. And you go here, and this is the end. You see it jumps up, and then it realizes, hang on, never mind. Check. There's nothing here for white. We can push the pawns, and it looks like you might promote. You're not promoting. Takes. We get the bishop back. Swing over, take. And this is just a draw. These players are very good. They know how to draw. You can't get the bishop back. Queen, and here the players agree to a draw. Gukesh and Sarana both played at 98% accuracy. So, a bit of a boring draw, but the players played it out. They were the last game to finish, and it looked for a while, it was very complicated. I'm not qualified to give you the intricacies, although I did draw an IM. Link probably in the description down below. If it's not there, it's on the channel. But I've got far more exciting games to show you. Pentala Harikrishna has suffered multiple defeats in a row now. He will be looking to bounce back against Max Warmerdam, who's had a bit of an okay tournament. Knight to f3, d4, and we are playing a Reti. And we're seeing that there's a move towards this, although now with d4 it becomes like a reverse Grunfeld. Knight comes out, castles here. So far the players know what they're doing. c4, takes, and we trade the queens, and now we reach this queenless middle game. Here. So at the moment, black's up a pawn. They won't be up a pawn for long. We protect this pawn. Remember, in that Catalan game, this isn't a Catalan, Arjun sacrificed the pawn to split them. Instead now, we commit to defending it. But we do it like this, and now look at this bishop. Look at this bishop. This is what you want when you play these kind of fianchetto systems. The knight jumps in to block everything. It's defended by the pawn, obviously. I nearly thought he hung it. Here. So we can take, we sacrifice the knight, kind of, because we can grab all of this. You might say, why can't you grab this? Because you've got bishop takes d5. That's what you get back. So instead, we go here. And for the moment, Max is up a piece, but the king should not be where it is. These pieces are, I selected a random square. These pieces are poorly coordinated. The knight jumps back, king jumps forward, rook attacks the bishop. All these pieces are protecting each other, so you're just trying to remove their defenders. We sacrifice the pawn, we don't need to take it. The bishop gets defended, now we take the pawn. Where does the bishop go? It takes, but the rook slides over. Massive blunder. The winning move here, the only winning move, is knight c6. That's the only winning move, knight to c6. You're attacking this. You're attacking this, and you're attacking this. And there's too many threats to deal with. Because you could take this with check. Or you would probably take this first. You can't take with the knight, but the knight hangs either way. You start removing the defenders. That is the only winning move. Rook f3. Rook f3 allows the only defensive move, king to e8. If you find that over the board, we crown you the best chess player in the world. Maybe Magnus could have found it. Maybe someone else could have found it. But it's so ridiculous. So we get this blunder, and now white is just completely winning. Now we find knight to c6. and there's just too many problems. Check. And that's the game. Because you're just getting mated. You either play bishop takes, at which point rook g4 check is just a nightmare. Or if you don't take, and you play king to h5, you just get checkmated on the board. So Max Warmerdam goes down to Pentala Harikrishna, who recovers some form. The next game I have to show you. Arjun Ergaisi, looking to bounce back yesterday after a defeat to Pragg. He plays d4, and you see, knight to f6. So obviously, some players are sticking to knight to f6, and some players have got a memo to play d5. c4, e6, and we get this Queen's Gambit decline. So obviously, Fedoseev would have played a Nimsa Indian if knight to c3 got played first, but doesn't want to play a Queen's Indian or anything like that. So now the knight comes out and we have the classical Queen's Indian. We don't have the Rogozin. Takes. And this is just the Queen's Exchange, Queen's Gambit. We allow the pawn structure to be damaged, but it's not too much of a problem. It leaves chances for dynamic play because you can plant your knight very comfortably in the center. And even when you go here, we reinforce the knight. f3 is a strange move to me. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, no, we'd already left known territory after this. But f3 is a strange move to me. Queen comes up, takes. And you would think taking like this. But no, that's not what we want. We want to take like this. This is the better capture. You attack the knight moves back, and long castles. Somebody is going to win, and somebody is going to lose, because these players have declared war on each other. Black is going to fire the pawns this way. White is going to fire the pawns this way. And someone will win and someone will lose. So, c6. There we go. g4. f5. And this is often a defensive move. Because if you take en passant, we play queen takes f6. And now you have got problems. The queen gets active. The knight will jump into the center of the board. And you kind of stall momentum. So instead of that, we get f5. And now you've got to be careful as white. As white, the best move is what follows on. You can play h3, but the best move is to just play rook g1. You're going to open the g file. Play rook g1. Instead, knight to e2, a mistake, allows black to take. And when you reroute your knight, queen e7, rook now slides over to g1, but it's too late. We take again. And this looks dangerous because you've just opened the rook. But Fedoseev's up 2 pawns. And we're ignoring capturing back this pawn. We bring the bishop, another attacking piece. King slides over, which is a slight inaccuracy. Bishop slides back. c5, another inaccuracy. Maybe Arjun's not done, but he is. So he captures back the pawn. Knight here. Now Arjun is completely winning. I was nervous about his play, but now he's completely winning. It's +2, according to the engine. Rook slides up. Another inaccuracy by Fedoseev, rather. Not Max Warmerdam. Here. The knight slides over. How is black not mated? How do we have all of this, and black is not mated? Queen slides over. There's got to be a breakthrough somewhere. Rook f1. It's +3. Rook slides over. +3 still. Takes is the critical mistake. Knight takes f5. This bishop is better. Knight takes f5 is the best move. Instead, we play bishop takes f5, and when you capture back, now we take with the knight, and we miss. Queen takes. Sacrificing the queen, kind of, because if you take with the rook, I take your queen. So we take, capture back the rook, and for the moment, Fedoseev is down the exchange, but he's not, because he has the fork at the end. He gets back the rook, now he's just up a rook, and this is just winning for black, as Fedoseev cleans up, sorry as I rub my nose, and then cleans up. Arjun does his best, but he stumbles to another defeat. Vladimir Fedoseev defeats Arjun Ergaisi. Final game for you. Another all-Indian clash. They're all over the place because there's 5 Indians in the field and they all have to play each other. So today we have Pragg versus Leon Luke Mendoca. e4, e5, knight f3, knight to c6, bishop e5, a Spanish. And I've told you before, the Spanish is a maneuvering game. And d3 again. Now, my knowledge, castles is what you play. You play castles. But it seems like there's a memo going out, or it's a topical line to play d3. And to play like this, when the bishop gets kicked back, but you see, bishop to c5, and here. Now this invites interesting stuff, the bishop coming up this way. Because it doesn't always do that. You bring the bishop there and you try to trade. Or you keep it back a bit as an attacking piece. Because you invite, you beg black, please play g5. Because that invites an attacking game. So we make a couple of preparatory moves. On the queen side, the knight jumps out. And we maneuver, castles. King slides over. Bishop a4 is a lovely move, by the way, just securing this diagonal. That's what you want. Bishop over, rook. All the pieces are flying. g5. There it is. Every move, you have to evaluate this move. It was probably the best move on a couple of turns. Now it gets played. The bishop slides back. We get this, offering the exchange of rooks. We don't want to exchange rooks. No repetition either. And also, we're not taking the bishop. We're not caring about 2 bishops at the moment because this one's basically doing nothing. So we don't want to trade just yet. This knight is more powerful than this bishop, although it is on a lovely diagonal. But you don't want to trade your very powerful knight. Now we rotate knights. Now we strike in the center, d4. We trade off the light squared bishop. You take with the rook. Takes in the center. And now maybe this, because the center is open and flexible and you've got options. This is maybe an overextension. White is now +1. But +1 is only +1 if you can make it count. And the knights do their job. They dance to the sides of the board and are going to try and defend the king and cause counterplay on the white king. So we take the bishop, we take intermezzo, attacking the queen. So we capture back with the queen and now we take the knight. And for a brief moment, Pragg is up a pawn. We offer a trade of rooks. We bring the knight back to avoid the trade of rooks. This pawn's not hanging. It's defended by everything in the position. And it is the one weakness. It's +2. But personally, I don't know how you win this as white. You've got to invest in this pawn. This pawn has to go up the board and win you the game. And also the fact you've got 14 minutes to 1 minute. Queen slides over. We protect our rook. Don't know if you saw it was hanging. Well, it wasn't. The queen was protecting it. We get our queen on a better diagonal. And helping the rook, king comes up, we attack the bishop. Bishop gets defended, not moved. We attack it again, it slides over. And now we pin it to the queen. Black's pieces are just a bit scattered, the queen slides up. We move the rook there to threaten a discovery. We offer an exchange of rooks, which you kind of have to do. No, we don't. We attack the queen. Takes. Rook slides over. We bring the queen back. Queen's still hanging. We don't want to trade queens though. Queen slides over. And we keep pushing. And it is that pawn that you're going to invest in that wins you the game as white. Because you're going to invest in it all the way. We trade queens now when it's beneficial to us. Here. And it's now +5. Pragg has played a perfect endgame. And he wins with king to h2. And Mendoca resigns. This pawn is a permanent chokehold. And these pawns, while they cancel out, the king is not close enough. Eventually you will trade and you will get this pawn through and win. And Pragg wins. I don't have the standings for you today. I will give them to you tomorrow. But I'm sure you can check them out on chess.com, on Lichess, on the Take app. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Some fascinating, truly fascinating games today. And subscribe if you'd like to see more from me. Until next time.